Welcome to the Let's Get Entrepreneurial podcast, your go-to resource for navigating the world of entrepreneurship.
In today's episode, we're diving into the fascinating world of angel groups. These groups play a pivotal role in shaping the startup ecosystem by providing early-stage funding and mentorship. Whether you're an aspiring founder or an investor seeking exciting opportunities, stay tuned.
If you're looking to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit and transform your ideas into action, we invite you to follow our podcast.
The Let's Get Entrepreneurial podcast is your ultimate launchpad for igniting ideas and skyrocketing your entrepreneurial dreams. Tune in, buckle up, and let's unleash the entrepreneurial spirit within. Your two hosts will be Professor Gary Palin and serial entrepreneur Ryan Budden.
Hello, Professor Palin. How are you today?
Doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing brilliantly, as always. Look, we've gotten together to discuss angel groups. We've talked a lot about investors, different investment strategies, different ways to pitch to investors. And one of the big emerging types of investors are these angel groups. We've mentioned angel investors, wealthy individuals that are investing their own money. I won't say it's a new trend. It's been around for a long time, but I'm seeing more and more of them, is this concept of angel groups or angel networks. I've seen them called both things, where instead of an individual investing their own money, it's multiple individuals investing their own money that have come together to hear pitches at the same time and sometimes pool their money together in creative ways.
Pooling resources is a major component of the angel groups, as there are other reasons to assess it. You can invest individually, but that can be risky and allow for limited diversifications. By combining capital, you can invest in a wider portfolio of startups.
Right. So the basic concept is instead of investing $100,000 in one startup, you can invest $25,000 in 4 startups. And each startup could still get the full 100 they are seeking because you have 4 other people with you.
Absolutely. And it lowers the risk theoretically.
It lowers the risk for each one, allows them to get involved in more things than just having one extremely large investment that they need to pay off. These angel groups are popping up in a lot of cities across the US. From what I've seen, they typically invest very locally. It's a good idea to understand the layout of these groups in whatever city you're partaking in and try and see how they're advertising and if you can just get to know a couple of the investors.
My recommendation would be in wherever you live to see if there's some form of entrepreneurship center or some type of support organization, could be governmental, and ask them, are there any angel groups in the area? And if the answer is yes, ask them if they could point you in the right direction and maybe provide an introduction.
I know the Entrepreneurship Center here in Nashville refers to a couple different angel groups depending on what industry you're in. Those types of places are a really great place to start.
Sometimes also universities and their entrepreneurship centers on campus, they can be of assistance to you. And it wouldn't be necessarily you have to be a student at that university. If you call them up, odds are they're going to help you if they have any knowledge.
A big part of this is talking about where angel groups fit into the startup life cycle. We've thrown some really ballpark numbers around about what type of investor likes to participate at what type of monetary value. And again, these are huge ballparks because there are exceptions to every rule. Where have you seen angel groups fitting into this?
Very often it's the early entry that I see. You might go with an individual angel at first, but depending on the size of the dollar amount you're looking for, very often individuals will have a limit. Whereas if you're going to an angel group, that amount available potentially can be higher. So it depends where you are in the cycle. Often, if you have an angel investing, they may also be part of an angel group, and they may bring and provide a warm introduction for you.
That's exactly right. And you've highlighted a main reason angel groups are a savvy place for early stage startups to go, and that's the reach of capital. What I mean by that is I've seen very successfully startups get their very first round of money to get them off the ground from an angel group. And because of the group aspect, they're able to get their second and sometimes even their third round from the same group of individuals. Once they've proven some success, that angel group can come in with additional dollars to continue to support their growth.
There's increased deal flow as a result of being involved with an angel group. And again, we're talking typically because it's all across the board. Also, you have greater shared expertise if you're dealing with a group of angels versus working with an individual.
Expertise and networking is one of the main reasons that people go to individuals for money and not big corporations, is because they can open doors for you. So instead of having one person that has access to their network throughout the career that they've accumulated, you now have a group of people that are giving you access to their network.
One of the things I would advise individuals to look at if they're looking at an angel versus an angel group is what is their investment decision cycle? Because typically they might meet just once a month, they might just meet once a quarter. And does that match your needs? Whereas if you're dealing with an individual, you can set up whatever that individual wants to meet with you. You're not restricted to a particular schedule. So you want to look at where your needs are and understanding when the group meets. And then what is the decision cycle? How long does it take? You might be talking 6 months.
And I have seen that be true, because typically you'll have to go to more than one of their meetings if you want them to very seriously consider you for an investment. Along with that, how you approach these groups, you have to align with that. So you've highlighted a really important point in their meeting frequency and how that can really differ from the other types of investors we've talked about on the podcast. And I'm saying this for lack of a better term, the different levels of professionalism. Some of them, this is a pretty informal meetup where they're listening to presentations and getting to meet people. Some of it is a very serious, they're in pews, sitting, ready to hear the performance as soon as it gets started. Understanding what you're walking into because of the variance is really key to the success.
The rules of engagement within the group varies widely. Some, as you say, are very informal. Others have very, very strict rules on how you can invest, when you can invest, what is the structure of the deals. Research that, understanding what are the rules of engagement within the angels themselves.
I've really worked with 3 of them closely, and I can tell you that the 3 of them operate entirely differently than the other 3. And it would be a huge emphasis for me if I was approaching an angel group to understand how they fit into that playing field.
Full disclosure, I've been approached by several angel groups to be participating with them. And when I speak with them, just how they're structured and how restrictive they are, they lose my interest.
Right. But they have that structure to hopefully protect them or to provide clear communication within the group.
And also, it's a nice place for someone that is not as savvy with experience with entrepreneurial ventures, that has disposable income that they're willing to invest in, more of a high stakes. For example, if someone is a surgeon and they have a pile of cash that they want to play into the entrepreneurial game, I would advise that person be part of an angel group because they know very little about business. They can leverage the expertise of the other angels in the group also.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been thinking of this so one-sidedly, right? Only talking about someone seeking investment from an angel. But you're right. The whole other side of this is if you are an angel and looking to deploy or want to be an angel investor and looking to deploy some capital, how you get involved with one of the groups.
And also, too, is if you are on the entrepreneur side, understanding in an angel group, not all knowledge and expertise is equal from angel to angel.
Absolutely. And in fact, sometimes there is no knowledge or expertise. There are just high expectations. And those are angels that you really want to avoid. And I'm sure I've not come across one, but I'm sure there are entire angel groups that there's not that much knowledge or door opening, and they want to be controlling. And you might want to be avoiding those types of angel groups even.
One of the first things I would do is once I identify that an angel group exists in my local community, I would identify who they've invested in and go speak to those companies.
That should be taken into consideration no matter the type of investor you're working with. Take family, friends, and fools out of it because they might not have invested with somebody before. But anybody else, you probably want to talk to somebody that they have given money to and see how that relationship has gone.
Yes, and we've spoken at length about good money and bad money from investors.
Right. You know, I even have my personal stories of taking bad money and how toxic that is.
For those who aspire to go higher in their entrepreneurial journey, we've got something just for you. Coming up next.
Are you ready to unlock your entrepreneurial potential? Introducing the Janus Entrepreneurial Report, your personalized roadmap to success. In just minutes, discover your unique strengths and areas for growth. Whether you're a seasoned business pro or just starting out, the Janus Entrepreneurial Report will help you identify and leverage your entrepreneurial tendencies. Don't wait, visit Prospirit.com and start your journey to success today.
Now, let's dive back into our journey of entrepreneurial insights.
Typically, I don't know what your experience is when I see angel groups. There's usually one or maybe two lead angels that you communicate with, and they represent the group. Has that been your experience?
Yes, very much so. And typically it's one, somebody that has pulled the group together that isn't making investing decisions for other people, but is taking charge on communication, expectations, actually getting meeting time set up, those types of things.
Angel groups very often are a bridge between angels and VC funding.
That fits into that investment life cycle. They are willing to do more than the individual, but typically, again, there are some extremely large angel groups that are essentially their own VCs. Typically, they're investing less total dollars than a VC group will.
The entire flow of the decision process can be clunky, but I've seen angel groups that are structured differently. Some, it's just a room full of angels, and then they individually make investments if they like, or they can talk to people they know, and three of the angels will say, I'll invest in this. Others are very restrictive. It's only the entire angel group invest in a company. So the structure of who invests, what the decision process is, you want to understand that going in.
I can't believe this is the first time we're referencing it, but Shark Tank is probably the most famous example of an angel group. Each can invest together individually, or none of them can invest. That's a good, dramatized for sure, but a good example of how it works.
If you look at Shark Tank, sometimes the angels are battling against each other. Other times they form collaboration. But what's in the best interest of the individual angel is how they're going about it.
Again, Shark Tank has a lot of TV magic. Not that it's not real or anything, but I think some of the battling is a little prearranged.
There's a whole story of that. But you're right, it's TV magic. It's not truly representative of what happens, but it's pretty close.
And like any social situations where money is involved, I'm sure there's some amount of tension in every angel group.
Yeah, and I bet there's some trash talking also.
Without a doubt.
The entrepreneurs tend to be very competitive, and the successful entrepreneurs that move to angels, that competitive nature doesn't leave them.
No, and you want that. Hopefully you're looking for somebody to come on your side and compete with you, not against you.
Now, what do you see as the role of the lead angel from your experience?
So typically they're playing that coordination role. They're finding leads, so people to come in and talk at the group. They're probably also finding leads from the perspective of other people joining the angel group. And then they're coordinating schedules and aligning investor goals. If, for instance, the local angel group that I work with quite a lot pretty much only invests in healthcare technology, they're doing the weeding out. If you're not in healthcare tech, they're probably not that interested in talking to you, and they don't want to waste anybody's time.
They're pretty much a communication bridge for the group to the entrepreneur. They're representing the group. And also after the fact, very often they lead the due diligence and also the negotiation in terms. They're the conduit.
Right. Other than the time you're presenting in front of the group, they represent the single source of communication. And that's vital. Can you imagine trying to negotiate, teach, and coordinate with 10, 11, 12, up to 30 different people? No, you'd never get it done.
Before approaching them, as I said, go talk to companies that have used that angel group. And if they told me that one angel or maybe two angels was their interaction, and that's pretty much all they talked about, I'd be comfortable. But if they said that everyone involved keeps calling and asking questions, and I'm dealing with 10 people, I would walk away and run away from that angel group.
Yeah, that'd be nightmarish. Absolutely. And just understanding expectations, as we said, there is such thing as bad money. So making sure that if they've invested before, there are realistic expectations of reporting that's due, a schedule in which that reporting is going to be submitted, and what meeting structure they like going forwards.
And what do you see that the angel groups are looking for in the types of presentations? Is it different than we see with angels, individual angels, VCs, or pretty much the same thing?
There's also a step up of professionalism from family, friends, and fools being probably a conversation to individual angels being some sort of a presentation, but it's still probably compelled by personal relationship. And once you get to the angel group, you're probably putting a formal presentation together. That presentation would be presented off of, so you would show up, present with it, and most oftentimes also left behind with that group. Then if you're getting to the VC level, which would be the most serious, it's a very formalized presentation. Most likely you've had an expert at putting presentations together assist in the material that's being created, and there would be multiple levels of it generated.
As we've discussed the difference between VC and angels, it's their own money. VCs, they've attracted a pool of investments from other individuals or institutions, so it's not truly their money. With angel groups, it's still their money.
A VC, in my mind, regardless of the monetary source, just means that the person making the decisions about the investment, that is their full-time job. They are a professional at doing that. Whereas an angel group, even this could be, I don't want to use the term a side hustle, but a fun project for the people involved. It could still be that. It will still be very serious for them as there's quite a lot of money involved. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they went to school to do it and they have a finance degree and that's their entire being is making those decisions.
There are many successful companies that have used angel groups. Dropbox, Stripe, Ring, LinkedIn, Airbnb, they've all been involved with angels and angel groups as they move towards success.
And that's what I was saying. It's not necessarily a new thing, but it is definitely a 21st century thing as individuals have gotten into this previously pretty exclusive investing pool. So any final thoughts? Hopefully this has been super enlightening and we've rounded out the different levels of investors for our listeners.
I would just conclude to encourage our listeners that are looking for investments to explore angel groups as an investment opportunity. It's well worth the effort.
And another really fun thing is if you're just getting into entrepreneurship, some of these angel groups, in my experience, are really open to having conversations with early stage investors, even if you don't necessarily have something to pitch in front of them at the moment, or just going in and listening to what's going on. It's a great place to get education. They're probably involved in this in their later stage of their career because they're still passionate about it.
Yeah, you meet some very interesting and knowledgeable people.
That's exactly right. It's never too early to start setting up the relationships if you know you're going to be seeking funds in the future as well. Well, let's get entrepreneurial.
Let's get entrepreneurial.
As we wrap up another episode of the Let's Get Entrepreneurial podcast, we extend our gratitude for your presence and attention. Your dedication to the entrepreneurial spirit fuels our passion for creating this podcast. Check out profspirit.com to discover resources and courses designed specifically for innovators like you. Stay on the cutting edge by following us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and other platforms as it is released. Until then, keep the entrepreneurial flame burning.